We want to bring in Dan Newman. He's Futurum Group's chief strategist. We also have Stacey Raskin. He's Bernstein's managing director and senior analyst. Great to have both of you. Stacey, what do you think? How worried should we potentially be, or how worried should big tech be about this development?
I'm not that worried. I think there were a few things that have caused panic over the weekend and clearly in today, right? I mean, the headlines, the initial stuff, the takes that came out basically said, oh my God, they've duplicated OpenAI for $5 million. They did not duplicate OpenAI for $5 million. And we can go through why. Number two, I don't want to discount the models they built are fantastic. They really are. And they've pulled a number of levers on efficiency that are great. But what they're doing is not miraculous either, or unknown to any of the other, top tier AI researchers or AI labs that are out there. The training efficiency and everything else that they've done, it's very explainable and kind of obvious if you look at the types of model structures and everything that they're using to build this. Long as it was not a crazy thing, and I don't think it's unknown to anybody else. And then finally, you got to ask, like, is this good or bad for infrastructure? I am not of the belief that we're anywhere close to the cap on compute needs for artificial intelligence. You have to remember, I'm a semi guy. I view cost reduction as a good thing. For 50 years, every 2 years, costs in semiconductors got cut in half. It wasn't a bad thing for semiconductor man. It was a good thing for semiconductor man. And so I'm of the belief that, like, if you're freeing up compute capacity, it likely gets absorbed. I mean, you have to remember, costs were going up to do this training, everything, like 10x a year, like for the last several years. I mean, that's not something that you can keep doing. We're going to need innovations like this if you're going to be able to keep things going on a trajectory. And so I actually think it's overblown. I understand why all the panic is going on. It's going to create a rich tapestry for debate as we go forward here, but I actually think it's overblown. I actually didn't think that this is necessarily bad news. I don't think DeepSeek is doomsday for AI infrastructure. And Dan, like, I don't know what your opinion on this.
Well, Stacey, point well made. And Dan, as we're thinking about this too, with all of the mindset around what OpenAI has been, what it is right now, and where it's continuing to grow, it's not like we weren't expecting more entrants into the marketplace and more competition. So what makes DeepSeek different? What's the significance of this platform or this language learning model that is outside of the realm of belief for so many who are already operating in this industry?
Yeah, from a technical capacity, the way they were able to use reinforcement learning to use less tokens to be able to train such a large model and be able to replicate such consistent or high quality outputs, in many cases, some of their outputs are actually very interesting, was really interesting, and I think it did create shockwaves. I am in line with Stacey. I've been on a bit of a tear across X. First of all, when did we decide that we're going to just believe a paper that comes out of China? There is a continuum of thoughts here, but there are leaders like Elon Musk and Scale AI CEO that have basically come out and said they probably have 50,000 H100 GPUs, maybe more. And so it's not obvious right now that everything they're sharing is exactly accurate. And it's not unlike China to potentially try to play a little bit of psyops with Americans and the markets to see how we would react. I think the progress is good, though. As Stacey said, look, if we can get this Jevons paradox thing where we get more compute, it's not going to stop and people aren't going to be like, we need no more. What's going to end up happening is companies are going to move faster. And I'll make one more point, is that ultimately we've looked at the possible bubble around AI, around too much cost on CapEx and not enough consumption or revenue generated by these ISVs, platform companies. Well, guess what? If we can create models more inexpensively, if we can use compute more efficiently, these SaaS providers, the Salesforces, the ServiceNows, the Microsofts, those companies that we're saying they're not driving enough revenue, they'll be able to build their models cheaper, they'll be able to create solutions with less overhead expense, and they're going to drive more EPS. So I just think the market's completely missing this one. And the fact that we're believing China just with their word, to me, I think that needs a little more inspection.